Hello everyone, this is Aya Udu from NORDOT. Our session is about content sharing. Content sharing, what I mean by is different publications sharing their stories, their articles with others. I was able to speak to two experts on this topic so that they can share their experiences, and if you're a publisher, you get to learn how content sharing can help achieve your business goals, what kind of challenges that you should be anticipating, and tips on how to get started. Please welcome Tony Daring from New Jersey Advanced Media and Joan Medeiros from Center for Cooperative Media, which runs New Jersey News Commons. Ta-da! Hello, Tony. Hello, Joe.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks so much for being here. Maybe if you could start off by describing what you do.
Thank you. I'm Tony Daring. I'm Director of News Operations for NJ Advanced Media. We provide the news coverage for NJ.com and the Star Ledger. I am a digital nomad. I come from a very strong traditional background in print journalism and have spent the past decade or so trying to migrate myself and the profession to the online world. For quite a period of time, I oversaw all of our local news coverage in New Jersey. I'm more of an operations guy now, but my heart is and always will be in local news.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Amditis. I'm Associate Director of the Center for Cooperative Media at Montclair State University. And as I mentioned before, I have been managing and facilitating something that we call the New Jersey News Commons for a little more than 6 years now. And what that is an ecosystem of news and information providers, mostly at the local level, but leading all the way up to sites like NJ.com and the Star Ledger, NorthJersey.com, where we share information, we share content at times, we share tips, and hopefully eventually revenue at some point. We're still working on that. And we just basically collaborate and work together with an understanding that there's more we can do together than individually. And we've been trying to figure out a solution to this issue of content sharing for about the entire time that I've been there, and probably even longer before that. And so, yeah, I'm eager to talk a little bit more about it and some of the challenges and opportunities that we see out there.
You need to bring your content to your audience rather than expecting your audience to come to you to consume it. So we do that with social media. We do that in a variety of ways. And one of the places our audience is on other news websites, and we reach them where they are, and that's one of the places they are.
Yeah, I mean, my position and the position of many of the folks that I've worked with in the past is that, I mean, we already share content in so many different ways. We embed YouTube videos on our articles. We share content within our own partner network, specifically the Advanced Media properties, Gannett properties, the Tap Into franchisees all share content. And often there's even, there's shared reporters. There's, jointly produced articles and other videos and radio broadcasts. And it's just obvious that there is an opportunity for not just content sharing, but like I said earlier, revenue sharing, which would allow us to, find areas of overlap. So we're constantly being told to do more with less. If I read an article and I cover an issue that about Ringwood, New Jersey, there are students who go to that regional high school. There are parents who send their kids to that high school. These are issues that they don't stop at the municipal boundaries of each town. So it's silly to have a publication for Wanacue, New Jersey, and a publication for Ringwood, New Jersey, duplicating their efforts to cover the same issue, when in reality we can just find a solution that both works technically and logistically to allow us to get the same quality coverage out to the people who need that information without, like I said, redoubling our efforts and doing the same thing twice. So content sharing is an obvious solution there, or an obvious approach to a solution there, where it saves everyone time, saves everyone money, and it doesn't reduce the quality or the content of the information that we put out.
What specific sort of event turned you to content sharing?
Yeah, so honestly, Hurricane Sandy was a big driver for not just myself, but the number one, the impetus of the center and the New Jersey News Commons, but also many people when all of the lines of communication, traditional lines of communication, go down, when there's chaos or there's a natural disaster. It brings into sharp focus how valuable something like content and information sharing between publications can be. Around that time, when we got together and we formed the New Jersey News Commons, it was obvious that there was a need for this because cutbacks were happening. Entire departments and newsrooms were being laid off. Segments of the population who were already starved for information, especially localized and local information, were finding themselves even more and more into what are known as news deserts. And it just seems obvious that this is something that should be on the table when we already, like I said, we already do a lot of the work and there's no need to duplicate it. And so it really goes like 2012, 2011, Hurricane Irene, Hurricane Sandy. We saw publications sharing information. We saw people sharing information. There are people who are really good at one thing that you may not be as good at. And there are people who have a beat or have something that they're able to cover that you either don't have the resources, the time, or the expertise to cover yourself. It just doesn't make sense to not partner up and find ways so that you can have a mutually beneficial relationship that allows not only you to put out more stuff to your community, but your community to receive the information they need.
We came from the tradition of your business goal is dominate the market, crush the competition. It was a very monopolistic model. It was a very lucrative business model for a very long time, and then that just stopped happening. So we saw the way the world was changing and what we needed to adjust to. And really now it's more about sustainability. And we feel like we are successfully migrating to a new business model that can keep journalism viable. But beyond that, instead of this monopolistic model, there's an idea of a news ecosystem and an understanding that we're all healthier, we're all more viable if the ecosystem is healthy. And that sharing is it is a great way to add to the health of the ecosystem.
Just the notion, as Tony was saying, that there is so much more we can accomplish together and that we all play. I mean, the ecosystem metaphor is one of my favorites because it does recognize that everyone plays a different role in the news ecosystem. Everybody has different skills, as I was saying earlier. Everybody is an expert at something in some way. And to recognize that we have all these different skills and then to ignore that and continue operating in a siloed environment where you are simply focusing on you and yours and everybody under the same logo are the only people you care about or the only people you work with, it's silly. It's patently and evidentiarily silly. And it does not it does not allow you to access the incredible benefits that come along with working together. But the more you flesh this out, the more you see things like, for instance, the FinCEN leaks, all the work that ICIJ does, the Panama Papers is the big one, and every single one of the incredible projects that we've been able to showcase at something like the Collaborative Journalism Summit is just testament. It's proof that these kinds of projects, A, would be impossible without working together, and B, just would never have come to fruition or wouldn't be as impactful, even if they did, without the increased spread and reach and distribution that comes with a multitude of partners working together.
I think took a while for some people to get used to the idea that I did this story and it's on somebody else's website. But I think we're more used to the idea now. I did this story and it got posted on Facebook and, someone shared it on Facebook. The path from your publication to somebody's reading it is just the Wild West.
While it's certainly not a bad thing to get a few extra pennies on the dollar here or there by doing literally no extra work. It's not like in order to share the content across the network, you have to like physically do anything. You just do what you normally would do. The plugin scrapes it and puts it on the site, and then a couple extra pennies trickle in. And sometimes people can be a little wary of any kind of technical solution. They don't want to install a plugin even. They don't fully understand how it works. And then there's the like weird ego issues that get involved when it comes to running somebody else's content. A lot of old school editors often are a little bit hesitant to do that. There's this issue of, they're my reporter. I trust my reporters and they use our style.
You are probably biggest content provider within New Jersey News Commons, but also you actually republish from others as well. That's amazing.
So we actually felt better about this type of content sharing because the original model was aggregation. You just took other people's content, you aggregated it. In theory, they followed that link to the other site, but in reality, they kind of read the headline, a paragraph or two, and it felt like to many of the hyper locals, you're stealing their content. And we didn't like that feeling of bigfooting, that feeling that we have advantages and resources, and now we're doing this. And when we had the opportunity not only to share our content, to reciprocate, but to, when we do use their content, use it in a way that was bringing the audience to their site, it was a very positive thing. There was not pushback. We felt much better about that.
How can we take this to the next level?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we sort of already have all of the pieces that are required to make this work. Mostly, I think it's just an issue of messaging and communication on the one hand. People need to understand that there are both technical and logistical solutions to this, and that it's simple and easy to do. It's not something that's going to be taxing or cause a lot of friction in your organization. And the benefit is, tenfold. This good quality, hard-hitting reporting that's valuable, critical information need is being disseminated to a wider, more diverse, more spread out group of people or communities. And the people who do the work, both the publisher and the author, the reporter, are getting their work out in front of more people. It's a win-win situation. So even without technology, which I think is always going to it will hopefully make things a lot better and a little bit more seamless. I'd much rather see an opportunity for us to say, click this one-click button, and here's a code, or boom, it automatically creates a post on your site, instead of having people copy and paste, text. There's always going to be better ways to technologically improve or streamline the process, but just in terms of the future of it, it would have to be, it's got to be adoption. I mean, you have to hit that critical mass point where it becomes ubiquitous, or it becomes the norm, where people know and encourage and actually seek opportunities for content sharing, as opposed to having to be sort of like dragged into it and say, okay, now I see the light. Now I see that this costs me virtually nothing. And even if it doesn't have massive immediate gains, especially revenue or monetary gains, they are gains. I mean, it's a net positive across the board. And the more people use it, the wider the adoption is, the more valuable it will become, and the more widespread it will become. And then people will start to really, really pick up speed in terms of the actual benefits they see, both at the community level and in the newsroom.
I see a couple of things. I think the first point is remaining extremely agile, because we have to understand where the audience is going and meet them there. So take Facebook as an example. There was a time not that long ago that if you did what we do, you better be on Facebook and you better have a really strong Facebook presence. And what we have seen in the last year, 2 years is, well, not everybody wants to be on Facebook. People are gravitating away from Facebook. And of course, Facebook is throttling the content. You can't reach that many people anymore without giving Facebook money. So what was a very good strategy for us is not the same strategy for us anymore. So keeping an eye on how changes in audience would affect content sharing is going to be important. I think the other thing we're beginning to see, and this is a good thing, we just have to figure it out, is, the content sharing process really began with a paradigm where the content is free. Everybody's content is free. Everybody's content is free everywhere. And it's about monetizing the eyeballs. One welcome change we're seeing is people are starting to understand that if you want journalism, you need to pay for it. And there's an increasing willingness to pay for journalism. And so we're already beginning to see some issues. Well, how do we continue to make our free content available to everybody who wants to share it for free, but the paid content, we need to be paid for the content people are paying for. So navigating that is going to be interesting.
It's not that serious. It's just do it. Like, just share an article with somebody. Just get over it. It's not a big deal. It's like I said earlier. It's what's the worst that could happen? Somebody runs your article. You don't get ad revenue on something that's happening anyway. Any of these weird like half aggregation sites that are already essentially stealing your content and your stories and running them without your permission and without your your input. Why not beat them to it? Why not, jump that and get involved with the partners who are doing this work, who are doing actual journalism alongside you, and start that sort of a relationship so that I can get a verified, official, legitimate information, legitimate reporting that's co-signed by multiple institutional partners, right in my home local site. The world in the news business does not work like it did even 5 or 10 years ago. It certainly doesn't work like it used to, when newspapers could even pretend to have some kind of monopoly on the information that they produce. People are going to take your content. It's happening. They're taking it. They're doing whatever they want with it. You can spend time chasing after them. You can spend time, running them to the edges of the internet and trying to stop them from sharing your photo as a meme, or you're sharing bits from your article, or throwing it up on some pop-up aggregation site. What you'd be much better off doing, and your energy and time and money would be much better and more well spent, would be to form real lasting relationships with these other news partners, and trying to create an ecosystem and foster and grow an ecosystem of content sharing. There's the issues with paywalls, obviously. We didn't really get into paywalls and what the implications of that has. Obviously, there's revenue sharing opportunities if you have a shared paywall on a certain piece of content. We haven't talked about the ability of going in together and saying we'll both split the revenue that we're going to be getting from putting this content behind a paywall.
The goal here isn't for hyperlocal sites to find your story like a $5 bill on the ground and scoop it up. Yeah, it's about developing relationships with other media organizations and sharing with them. I mean, having a productive relationship, and you will benefit from those relationships and they will too. The second thing that's really coming, and we're starting to see, is there is just more funding out there now for shared reporting on different topics, many opportunities. This content sharing and content distribution can be the foundation then for shared reporting that allows us to take advantage of the money that's out there. The last thing is understand what you can do to focus your resources on your own original reporting, and then use relationships to fill in the gaps. I kind of think of like a state university system. Maybe not every one of us should have the best business school in the state. Maybe I should have the best business school. You should have the best teacher training program. We have to see that and think that way and give each other a way to do what we do best.
An amazing session. Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you so much, Joe, for sharing. So yes, Joe said it. Information is just moving around everywhere, that it's impossible to prevent people from taking your content away. So might as well take initiative in having some control over how you want to share your content. And with the right tool, it is possible. Things are trackable. So transparency and trust can be protected. I think so much positive, exciting things are happening in this space, and I'm so looking forward to seeing so much more. Thank you so much for joining our session, and hope to see you soon.